Hi, it's Ricky of Moshville Times here once again. Now, tonight we have Southwestern UK Deathsters Unburier. We've got guitarist vocalist Ben, we've got lead guitarist Blake, and we also have drummer Uther. So, how the hell are you guys doing? It's been a wee while in getting organised and things like that, but it's finally good to see you. So, how are you doing?
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very good.
Splendid.
Now, that's what I like to hear. There's some enthusiasm for you, ladies and gentlemen. I love that from Uther. For those eagle-eyed listeners, in the last couple of weeks, you would have heard me talking about Unburier on Moshville Radio, with the fact that you're recording your second EP. So how far in the process are you?
It's everything is tracked bar bass, essentially.
Okay.
So yeah, everything's tracked, ready to go. We're currently getting all the bounces back for drums. Yeah, so progress is being made.
How long were you in the studio and things like that? Was it like a couple of weekends, or was it like?
Yeah, so me and Blake did guitars at his house, just like, at home, using like an interface and stuff like that. And so we're sending that off for reamps.
Yeah.
We did vocals at Uther's house, and we did that across a weekend. And then we did drums in 3 days up at Ritual Sound Studios.
Interesting. So how many songs are going to be in the EP?
We got 4.
And it took them 3 days to record the drums?
Yep.
That's with setup, tear down, everything like that. We wanted to make sure we were doing it right. We did some vocal dubs in the studio as well. We were busy.
Yeah. No, it sounds really cool. So you get any idea on like release dates yet? Are you hoping to get it out before the year's out, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to figure out what the best play is. There's a lot of factors that come into it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we're looking about next year, the start of it.
Yeah. So you're just going to like release it as an EP, or you're going to release 1 or 2 singles beforehand, do you think? Have you discussed how you're going to do it?
So we'll probably do 1 single off of it and then drop the whole thing. But yeah, as Uther was saying, we want to make sure the release is just as good as possible and as impactful for us as possible. So obviously we'll kind of try all avenues to make sure that happens, essentially.
Yeah, sounds good to me. But I don't think you guys are like slow songwriters or anything like that. But was there ever a discussion where the next release was going to be like an album or anything like that, or was it always going to be another EP?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was going to be an EP. It was a debate whether it was going to be 4 songs or 5. But as our current status as a band, I think an EP is far more smart, and it just made sense for us to put just a little bit out, but more of a directional push instead of, what people would come to expect.
Yeah. What do you think, Blair? I see you eager to talk, but they two jumping in front of you all the time.
It's a connection, I think. I was tempted to go around Ben's just to like avoid this.
No, cool. So, like, Blake, then, do you have a name for the EP? Or is it going to be called EP2 for a wee while?
Well, I don't know if I can say this. Well, I think we're calling it Nebula, so I think we're calling it that.
There's a wee exclusive for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
We're dropping it all. We're dropping it all here.
Yeah,
these are the secrets, man.
I think you might have to explain what that means, but
well, I think that will come when it happens.
Yeah.
People will listen to the lyrics, people will listen to the music, and it will make sense.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the lyrics and everything like that later on, and I thank you for giving me that. But I mean, you are on the biggest independent online webzine, so where else to share it, So I do thank you for that. But yeah, so with the title then, is that going to be like a name? I'm going to push it even further then. Is that a name of a song? Or is that like a part of a lyric, a part of a line of a particular song and you just particularly like the title?
I think it just ties it all together, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not really linked to, well, it's just linked to all of them.
Yeah. Well, I'm liking the sound of this. You're keeping a lot of things secret, but I got an album title. I'm going to keep pushing. But with the EP then, is this the right time for it? I mean, are some of the songs like a year old and things like that, and you've been ready to record it for like 4 or 5 months? Or is this just finalised last week and let's get into the studio type thing?
So yeah, one song is older, and then the others have like, you know, come in between like a period of like back end of last year to kind of the start of this year.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the writing process, we go through a lot of not, well, I guess you could say reworks, and we, you know, so we'll write and then we'll play them and then we'll tempo map them to basically feel like it's a band like playing live, so it has the dynamics and the push and pulls essentially. So yeah, like we went through a lot of, you know, pulling songs apart and reworking and all those sorts of things, to the point where we were like, right, now we'll book the studio time essentially.
Excellent. So was there any material left over from Twisted Existence, or is this completely brand new material, or did you bring 1 or 2 riffs into these songs?
I mean, I think riffs, yeah, stem from kind of anywhere, and I don't think there's a specific time frame exactly. I don't quite remember, but yeah, nothing really left from Twisted. Like those were the first 2 songs we wrote.
Yeah. All
together again. So yeah, so this is just like us pushing it in the direction we want to go in, essentially.
Yeah.
If anything left from Twisted would probably end up on later works, but Nebulous is purely things that we wrote afterwards.
All right, cool. So how's the recording experience for you all? So for example, for yourself, Uther, where the drums were done in like 3 days, were you fed up doing a song half a dozen times? Was there a song that you just couldn't get right the first time, or was it quite plain sailing for you?
Okay, so obviously it was 3 days. We got the Ritual Sound Studios, and yeah, we set up the drums, and it was, you know, fairly clear that, you know, everything was ready to go. And I was in the mindset that was, all right, so we're gonna set up the drums today, maybe just take samples and just like, you know, get used to everything. But then we started recording the first song, and we did it piece by piece, as the modern industry is. You know, like if you want your drums to sound the best, you do it piece by piece. And if you're trying to do it in one take, you're just egotistical. I'm sorry. But anyway, we did that. And then we did it in what, an hour and 10 or something. And we were like, okay, well, that was cool. And we listened back and we were like, okay, man, this sounds sick. And then the next day we just did 2 of the harder songs, but the last day was definitely the hardest. Because shout out Critic Shift. We stayed up very, very late, and we had to get up at 7 in the morning to get to the studio. And yeah, I was really punished by then, I think. And yeah, that last song was a real. Can I swear? Is that allowed?
As long as I don't like the C word, I don't like see you next Tuesday. I don't like that one.
All right, I'll avoid that one. But yeah, it was real tough shit, to be honest. But mainly just a lot of blast beats, and yeah, it was tough. But we got through it, and they sound killer, and we couldn't be more happy, really.
So with the blast beats then, was that because Blake and Ben were kind of saying, we want more blast beats in this recording, and certainly more than Twisted Existence, you know, but would it be fair to say that every member of the band has upped their game quite a considerable bit?
100%. I mean, this CP is going to make Twisted sound like Charles Play, if I'm being honest.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm claiming that You know, people will say, "Oh no, I prefer Twisted," but I prefer the new stuff. Sorry,
Well, I'm afraid you're still going to have to play Structured Genocide. I think that's going to be on your set list for a good number of years yet. So
people love that one, and even my
absolutely.
girlfriend's mother loves that one. So you know, it's one of those that it will stay. And I'm not adverse to playing it. It's just listening to it gets a bit old.
It's just for us metalers, we can just mosh to it. It's just a brutal melodic riff. Excellent, excellent. The drumming is just mediocre, but it's the riff. Brilliant. But Blake, how was it for yourself? Like, I don't know if you done all the leads for this recording, or certainly some of them, but did you feel like all the other guys were kind of watching you, and it took you 10 times to get a solo right, or was Ben pushing you?
I mean, yeah, I think he was, but we were pushing each other, really, I think. Yeah, I mean, I think we both kind of knew when we did like a wrong take or something. So, and it was tough. Like a few things I had to repeat a lot of times. Yeah, it was tough.
You see, when you're live, you can get away with it because nobody notices anyway. But when you're doing a recording, everybody notices, you know. So
yeah.
But was it just like a solo, or was it just something that was it the sound of the guitar or something like that you weren't happy with, or was it just?
Mainly solos, maybe some riffs, but then again, Ben did record most of the riffs. I just probably did my harmonies for some of the riffs. But yeah, some of the solos I just couldn't get clean, but I did end up getting them clean.
Oh, you got Ben to play them for you. Cool. What about yourself, Ben? How was it recording for you? Did you find it a lot of pressure, or was it quite straightforward for you?
No, I think we gave ourselves a good amount of time to kind of get things right. And, the good thing about being able to record from home is that if you're not happy, listening back even a day later, you can still go in and change bits. So, it's been a drawn out process for sure. But yeah, riff wise, I'm really happy with how tight the guitars are. And I think we really pushed ourselves, to be as tight as possible. And then vocally, I think me and Blake both really pushed ourselves. That was probably the most stressful part for me. Yeah. But just going again and going again. But no fighting, just constructive criticism, I suppose. But we really just pushed ourselves in all aspects, really, I think, and that's why we're so proud of what we've done here.
Yeah. So was there anything that you used from the recording experience of Twisted Existence to this recording that you'll maybe continue with? Have you guys found a settled formula and you're going to stick with it? Or if you had the chance, you would go into a studio and things like that? Or the tools at home so much better now than what they used to be? You can just do it at home, save costs? I thought that was a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll always do drums in the studio just because, the facilities you need for something like that is, you need a lot of preamp inputs and all these other things, mics, and it's just, it's quite, and obviously the room itself. But guitars at home is good. I wouldn't be opposed to doing it in a studio, but obviously the time pressures and then being able to do it ourselves and really just make sure everything's right. So yeah, if the budget was there, I'm sure we'd love to go to the studio for a week or 2 weeks or however long. But, as it is now at the level we're at, it makes sense to save the money and put the money into it's not like we're making a compromise. I think that's the way we see it, is that what we're doing at home is as good.
Yeah.
So.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But something tells me, because you had to put the drums in the studio because of the size of the drums, I think Uther thinks he's Nickel McBrain or something like that. The size of his drum kit. So, but yeah, no, cool. So for those eagerly awaiting EP then, how would you say it compares to Twisted Existence? And do you think you've found the sound that you've been looking for with this new material? Or do you think it's just like the next step?
Like, you answer.
I think I think this is
I'm going to
just
ask
the
you
next
all.
step, really.
I'm going to ask each and every one of you. So, Blake,
Already changed my opinion, man.
I think this is the next step for us, really, because I think we're all always going to be in a different mindset when writing other like EPs or albums, whatever. I think our sound's probably going to change, here and there.
Yeah, because I think your first demo, you were definitely like thrash, but your second Twisted Existence brought in like the death layer elements, and I'm thinking with Uther saying about blast beats earlier on, he heading in a more death layer direction. Would it be fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's definitely got like quicker, more brutal.
I like what you're saying. I like what you're saying. What about yourself, Ben? Like, how would you say it compares to Twisted?
Yeah, I mean, as Blake was saying, I think it's a massive step forward. And like, I think that progression is important for us, like just to keep pushing ourselves. And I think we've really kind of found a sound that we're happy with, and we also know going forward what we want to, even achieve with like the next release. Essentially, like I think we've found the elements that we like and that we're good at, and now we know exactly where we kind of keep want to taking it, sort of thing.
Yeah. So do you think you've dropped one or two of the thrashier influences, and you brought in one or two more of the death layer influences into play more? Like, I'll be honest, I listened to like Structured Genocide and more than, I can't remember the other song, sorry. But it's more like Sadist for me. Like, I love early Sadist, like Swallowed in Black and Twisted into Form. But it was, I just listened to that and I thought of Sadist. But I'm just wondering if, like, and it's great to see bands like that coming out again. Because Sadist have just released a new album. Atheist are busy again, and Atheist vocalist Kelly Schiefer is doing Till the Dirt. So that kind of music is coming back again. The old school's coming back, but it's good to see the new school showing the old ones that we can play that kind of shit too. So we'll see. What about yourself, Uther? Like, how was the difference for you and Twisted to this?
It was just natural, man. Like my playing has progressed a lot through this band in particular.
Yeah.
And with that, the rest of the boys have as well. So it's only just really been a supernatural thing for all of us to write more technical things, but also hone in on what, structured, right? I mean, it's catchy. Like that everyone likes that, harmony or riff or whatever, because it's catchy. And like if you manage to make a song technical but catchy, then that's kind of our real strive, because we love playing our instruments and we want to be as tight as possible, but we want people to be able to sing the melody.
Yeah.
And this next thing is 100% like what we're striving to do.
I like what you're saying. But also at the same time, you've got the two guitarists in this chat. So you can tell me, like, who's the one that sends you a riff at 4 o'clock in the morning saying that you have to listen to this riff? This is the best riff yet, by the way.
To be honest, the boys are good as gold in terms of bedtime. I mean, I'm the one who's sending shit at 4 in the morning.
Nights.
So do you play guitar as well, Uther?
I do. Yeah, I have a solo project thing that I've been doing for a while, and I'm nothing on these boys, but yeah, riff writing and stuff. Like, I have an idea of what sounds good and scales and things like that, but yeah, I mean, these guys take something and run with it. Like I'm there, like, look, I could play the drums to it, but if you want me to like do anything else, like that ain't gonna happen.
So no solos from you then?
No solos.
Cool. But what I particularly love in a band is when they have more than one vocalist. So seeing you guys in live videos, I love the fact that Blake does some vocal duties as well. So with Ben being the main vocalist then, was this something that you were taking into consideration this time, bringing Blake more into the vocal side of things in the new songs?
I think it just adds a layer of like, Shane's starting. It just adds another layer to the vocal, so it's like just makes it fatter, like fatter sound. Because I'm doing like the sort of lower vocals, Ben's doing like the mids. I think it just works well.
Absolutely.
I think our voices sort of work well together as well, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, for me, it certainly adds so much more diversity to a song. I remember seeing like Nile, and they had all three vocalists doing vocals at the same time, and it's just absolutely brilliant. So I love seeing two vocals. I mean, I know that you guys aren't going to be like, I was going to name a band there, and I forgot the freaking name as well. But it's like line for line. So Blake would do a line, and
like Dying Fetus,
or something like that. Yeah. But what about yourself, Ben? Like, did you want to bring him in more? Or did you even think Uther? What about you doing vocals behind the drum kit and be like Chris Reifert or something like that?
Maybe one day.
Yeah, I think it was definitely something we were conscious of and something we wanted to experiment with more, which you'll hear, on this release. That there are, before it would be certain sections that Blake would do, but now, Blake's even kind of coming in some verses, like with little bits, just to kind of beef it up in different places. And then, on this one, there's like, Blake has some bits where it's almost like inverse. So he's taking, a whole section, and then I'm coming on top with the, the high or the mid or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to hearing the new material, and see when you do have a song ready. I'll play it on Moshville Radio on a Thursday night. Every Thursday I do a radio show for extreme metal, so it's 95% death metal. So I know that you will get on there, and I have played you before as well. So, but I'm looking forward to the new stuff. So so who's produced it? Who's mixed it? Who's mastering it for you? Who's doing all that kind of thing? Oh, you got that far?
So same guy that recorded drums, Sam Turbot at Ritual Sound Studios.
Yeah, boy.
I think
man.
I was going to say I think Uther likes him, but is he like the fourth member of the band? Then he's like just pushes you all the way, but basically for the reason because he knows that you guys can do better.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say the fourth member, so we only just met him, but by the vibe of working with him, it was fantastic. Like, the guy has a very keen ear on proper tightness and sound in general. Of like, he was throwing in little bits, like, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but like, he was throwing in certain little assets and samples and things into certain parts, and where things drop, and it was just like, wow, like, I wouldn't have thought of that. And like, it was, this guy is a bit of a gem, really. So shout out to Sam, mate. You're a dom.
Yeah, real business.
That's exactly what I want to hear, and fair play with a shout out. But what about the artwork side of things? Have you got ideas of a front cover? Do you know who's going to do it for you? Is it already done?
Done and dusted.
I like it. So are you allowed to tell us by who?
I would, but I can't remember or pronounce. But yeah, like, that's cool.
Lord's cover, right?
What was that?
Yeah,
He did Slime Lord's cover, right? Gita Felly or something.
Yeah, something like
that. Yeah, so I mean, it's a question I always ask. Like, I'm always interested to hear what you give the artist. Like, did you give them the full lyrics and stuff like that, the music that went with it, or did you just give them a thought that's in my head, this is what I picture, and then you just give them free reign? Or did you say, no, this is what I want, can just draw it for us?
I think it all stemmed really from when we found like a separate painting that we really liked, and so it's kind of like, it was super expensive, so we weren't gonna couldn't afford to shell out on it, but we kind of liked that vibe. And then we got recommended this guy and kind of just sent him that and said, like, kind of do your own spin on it, essentially.
Yeah. Well, it's always something that maybe one day you'll get Dan Seagrave to do it. But who knows? But it's always a question to ask about the artwork. But how were the songs constructed for the EP then? Are they the main songwriters of the song, or did all members contribute this time? Do you feel like, say for example, Blake done like 25% of Twisted Existence? Did he come in with much more this time?
So like Blake, I think, had 2 full songs. Then Worlds was a mix of both of me and Blake, and then I'm just giving away all the names here.
But, I just did that. I pretended I didn't listen, but I did.
Yeah, and then the other one was was me. But yeah, I mean, like, regardless of like, who the riffs come from, it all kind of ends up going through all of our filters essentially to, I think without any one of us, then the songs would never turn out, how they do, because, we really sit down and just really pick it apart and make sure that everything is, as good as possible, essentially.
Yeah. Do you all live close together? Like, is there an opportunity for you to get together like once a week or something like that and bring the riffs and the ideas to the songs?
Well, I live in Poole, so they live in Yeovil.
Yeah, about an hour away. So yeah,
it's tough, but we try to meet up when we know we need to.
Yeah, I take it especially you've been meeting up a couple of times in the last couple of weeks for this UK tour that you're doing. Yeah.
yeah.
So cool. Yeah. So how would you say, like, you keep it all together, like when negotiating what stays in and what goes out of a song? Like, say for example, Uther brought an idea into a song, but you two guys were like, nah, it's not going to work. Is there a moody one in the band? Is there a member that always goes in a huff or something like that?
Yeah, me.
Do you know, I knew the answer to that question before I asked it.
Mm-hmm. No, I fully admit I have my little hasty fits, but then I calm down and I realise, yeah, you're right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's only 3 of you, really, so I don't know if there's like a 2-to-1 voting system, but
yeah, that's exactly how it works.
do you feel like Ben and Blake just gang up on you?
Sometimes.
You're only the drummer.
There's a little bit of romance between them, I won't lie, but either way, that's fine. I'm respectful of that, man.
No, good stuff. But something tells me there's no like blood in the walls or fisticuffs in the studio or anything like that. You're all doing it for the same goal, and that is just to get Unburier out there.
Yeah, that's our mission.
That's it. Absolutely. So, I'm just looking at the questions that I've got left, to be honest with you. One of the, obviously, we talked about a UK tour there. So how did that come about? It must have been, was it an email? Was it a phone call that you had? It must have been, this is too good an opportunity to miss this. How did it come about?
It all stemmed from, we played on Torture Demons headline last year, last November.
Manchester, yeah.
And and we opened that, and we went down like really well. One of the probably the best show we've ever played. And then right after that, we kind of, after the show, we were all chatting and we were like, yeah, let's do this again. And then here we are, just under a year later.
Well, it's a mammoth UK tour, so was it quite a struggle getting time off work and everything else, or was it all right? Or is somebody going to have to take a sickie one day or something like that?
No, all done legally here. Yeah, days off. Yeah.
No, good stuff. But obviously, this is the biggest thing that you have ever done in your career so far. Hopefully, it won't be the last time either. So. And I know that one of the reasons, obviously, is because one of the reasons for the interview is because you're going to be playing Moshville Oktoberfest this Saturday, October the 7th, at Ivory Blacks in Glasgow. So obviously I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys play, and I hope that you get some new fans as well. So now that the world has opened its doors again to playing live, after this UK tour that lasts a week, do you have any other gigs before the end of the year? Have you already got plans for next year, or are you just going to concentrate on getting the EP out there first?
We got a few things dotted about. I don't know I don't think any of them are actually announced yet, and a few things in the works as well. So, fingers crossed that all pans out. But yeah, the big focus will be, once we kind of in and around the stuff that's already booked, will be like, getting the EP out and everything around that.
I don't know if anybody else notices, but Ben has got like a thumbs up beside his so I don't know what it is, but people are agreeing what you're saying. So no, good with that. So like I say, hopefully Glasgow will work out and things. There'll be a good turnout, and you'll have done a bit of networking as well. Are you going to bring some merch? Is it just going to be like the Twisted Existence merch, or will you have you got any new ideas for shirts?
I mean, yeah, we've got it is Twisted right now. We were hoping to have some stuff like before the tour, but logistic didn't work out, and it's okay. We're sort of viewing this as our last real run of Twisted.
Yeah. Like I said, as long as you don't forget Structured Genocide, that is fine with me.
Yeah, we're keeping that bad boy.
Yeah, so it's good to see that you've got quite a lot of gigs coming up. But I was just wondering, with the bass position, am I right in saying that you had Tommy out? Like, for example, when you played Bloodstock and things like that, what are you going to do with this tour in terms of a bass player?
We're not having
no bassist. Yeah.
You're going to play without a bass?
Yeah, no bassist.
Right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, but that's the way it goes, until we got plans for, well, we're gonna get a sample pad at some point, and when everything is recorded and tracked, we'll have bass regardless if anyone's there or not. But money and all these other
can either two of you play bass? Can you play bass, Blake, or?
Yeah, I can play a bit, but like having an actual bassist to play is a lot better, really.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Well, it'll be interesting to see how it works being a threesome, but to be honest with you, they're just a bassist anyway, so don't worry about it too much. But with you, Ben, being the main vocalist of the band, then do you write all the lyrics to the songs, or for the new EP, for example, or do you welcome contributions from other members of the band?
This is all on Uther. Yeah, Uther is the lyric mastermind.
So
the drummer, right?
So no, you flummoxed me there. I don't know what to say next. Because usually I say, right, so you two, so Ben and Blake do all the writing and stuff like that, and then Uther just turns up 2 weeks. You better start writing something or whatever like that. But you've totally flummoxed me here. So, Uther, where do you get your influences from? Do you write? Do you watch a lot of war documentaries? Do you watch a lot of films? Do you read a lot of books? Or you've always got a pad and a piece of paper with you? You open the front door, you see something, you take a note of it. Where do you get your influences from?
I will label it down to my head and inspirations,
right,
with the non-incriminating vibe. Basically, I write what I think, and I think of stories, and I think of arcs, and I think of words, and I check the definitions of the words just in case. But
in case you didn't make it up.
Well, there we go. Like, honestly, I don't know how I do it. Like, I just spill it out, and then I arrange a bass line of how the vocals will go over the songs, because I do vocals as well. And then I'll send it to the boys, and then they'll feel it out and see if they like it, if they want to change anything. And that's our vocal process.
So is it sometimes difficult for you to portray to Ben and Blake how you want them to sing it? Or
No, I'd say when I'm very confident about how a piece should go. For example, there was one part in particular on the last song of the EP, and it was one verse in particular. It was different to the other verses, but it made it so much sicker. And then at first it was a bit like, I don't know, does this work? But then they got it, and I was like, see, it's fucking sick. Like, it just, there's certain little bits, but then for the most part, I am just riffing. Like, I don't necessarily want to keep all the stuff I put. Some of the stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, that has to stay. That's just the best it could be. And then, it's because we'll try other things. Like, we won't just stick with like what I say, and if I say it's sick, it stays. No, we'll try the other thing as well, just in case. But like, even then, sometimes I'm so fixated on one part and we change it, and I'm like, well, that's sicker. Do you know what I mean? It just depends on how we're all feeling and how it grooves. Because in the end, this music, like, it has to groove.
Yeah.
Like, if it doesn't groove, you can write anything you want, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, be careful.
So also with the lyrics then, do you have you got like songs already written? Have you written lyrics already? So there was like, I mean, I speak to like Quando from Brain Bath or something like that, and he says he's got 15 songs ready, lyrics written. Or I speak to Carl Willits, and he does nothing for a year until they're ready to go into the studio, and then he writes the lyrics, Well, he was kidding on like that, but do you have to hear the songs first, or do you already have songs written?
I mean, it really depends. I usually listen to the song first. I get like what it sounds like, what it looks like, which is a weird thing to say, right? But songs do look like things. That's why album art exists, right? And just what it makes me feel. And if it makes me feel a certain thing that could involve a different story or bring in something else, it's very much just a case of feeling it out and just letting myself do it, instead of thinking it has to be like this, it has to be this. No, it feels like how it should.
And
that's the most important part.
Well, Ben and Blake, I think you have to keep him in the band because, first of all, he was only a drummer, but now he actually writes the lyrics, so he's of some use to the band. So you better keep him then. But see, so do you give the lyrics to the guys, and do they add their tweaks in and stuff like that, or is it?
There will be certain syllables and certain words that will mean two things, but then there will be a better word for it, and you'll replace it. It's all about how it sounds. Like, obviously you get some tongue twisters and it's just like, shit, how am I going to sing this? But like, it is a case of basically seeing it through, recording it and hearing it, listening to it a fair few times, trying something else, and if that word or whatever you've changed works better, and it works better, then that's what you use.
That's it. That's exactly it. But Ben, does he piss you off sometimes because he writes like 12-word sentences and you've only got like 3 seconds to sing it in?
I mean, some of the new stuff has been like really like demanding, like, because obviously what we're playing is very difficult as well. So obviously, as Uther said, like, he'll send over, because we're all competent within like recording ourselves. So, and it like comes in super handy, obviously, because I can hear what Uther's thinking, and then normally I'll sit down and I'll start to put the two together. And if I do make any changes, it will be as long as it is cool, but it's to fit with me playing it as well, because obviously I have to bear in mind that I will be playing it live, kind of thing. So, but yeah, like, for the most part, what Uther kind of puts down, because because he is a drummer and he thinks very rhythmically, it's not like he's just free reigning it over the top and it doesn't make any sense. Like you can really feel how his patterns are accenting with the riffs or with the drums, and they're hitting on certain beats and it all feels quite natural. It's not like, he's just up there just kind of just going for it. Like the patterns are really well thought out, and I think that's something he's like been really conscious of pretty much.
Well, I tip my hat to you, Uther. Fair play. Fair play to you guys. Thank you very much for that. And I thank you for the time that you spent here tonight. I've only got like a couple more questions, but you talked about there's a possibility of a single being released before the official EP release. Are you going to like tie it in with a video? Is that something that you have talked about? Is that, Blake, is this something that you have talked about actually releasing? I don't know whether it's a lyric video or whether you're going to go up a hill into some woods and just have lights behind you or something.
Yeah, I think we're planning on it, but we're not really sure yet. Like, I think if we are going to do it, then it's going to be like us playing, like, just performing in the video.
Yeah.
That's what we would go for.
Would you agree with that, Ben? Do you think you're not going to be like I don't know, up a mountain somewhere or going to like the Sahara Desert and recording there or something with the budget?
No, we're just going to find a cool room with a cool vibe that kind of fits what we're going for.
Yeah.
And just like, I think really like the key with those sorts of videos, and we've like thought about this a lot, is having the right cuts and the right angles and the right movements. I think his camera's just, or his phone's died. Yeah. But it's just about, making sure, because obviously it is quite bare bones, but it's about all the cuts and all the editing as well as obviously recording. So that's kind of the vibe we want to go for.
Do you know somebody locally that can do the video with you?
Yeah, so if everything pans out, we've got a guy that wants to work with us, actually hit us up to do it. So hopefully.
Well,
it'll,
look forward to seeing that as well then. Look forward to seeing that as well. But I've just got one last question before I ask about your instruments then. So, the gig, especially in Glasgow, you've got your set list with 6-7 songs on it. Which one are you looking forward to playing and why? So, we'll start off with you, Uther, then. Which song, it might be a third or fourth in the set list, but it's the one that you're looking forward to the most. Why?
All right. Okay, so probably one of the only ones we've actually named from Nebulous, which is called 618. That is probably my favorite song to play. It's got a nice balance. It's not just relentless, and it's got a very cool ending. So yeah, I'd say that one.
Cool. Thank you very much for that, Uther. What about yourself, Ben, and why?
I don't really know. I think I maybe look forward to playing the most at the opening song.
Yeah.
Again, I just feel like it has cool dynamics. Like the midsection is just so fun for me. Like there's this one riff that is just, I don't know, never gets old for me, like playing it, and like especially during the solo section, just kind of like me and Uther kind of just locking in. It just feels like a good moment. But I'd say probably that is my most look forward to.
Cool. Well, when I get a hold of the EP, I'll tell you which one I want to see live. So that's cool. Thanks very much for that. But we're going to the very last question. So once again, I thank you very much for your time. We're going to talk about the instruments that you used to record the EP2. So Nebulous, as we're now allowed to say. So we'll start off with you, Ben. What's your guitar setup? Something tells me you're more than Blake. You're more the geek of the band. You've got like 40 pedals on your board. What's your setup? What guitar and what pedals and things like that do you use in amps?
Yeah, so I mean, gone are my days of like pedals really, because I've moved over to Kempers.
Okay.
So like, I mean, I'm still using pedals, but within like the software itself. But yeah, so to be fair, like I love all that stuff, but for what we do, it is fairly not bare bones, but you don't need to do a whole lot. Like, just a 6505 or 5150, like a tube screamer in front of it,
Yeah.
just to kind of tighten up that low end and just really fill it out. Funa, noise gate, bit of delay, bit of reverb, like nothing too crazy really. And yeah,
He's
and
not really
then my
told us his make and
guitar.
model of guitar, has he yet? I thought it would have been the
No,
first thing
so
he
I've
would have said.
got yeah. Well, you mentioned the pedal board, so that's where my head went straight away. But yeah, so I've got a Jackson Warrior. I think it's an R, no, WR. I'm probably butchering this, XMG or something like that. I'm not, something real catchy like that. But yeah, so that's just like EMG equipped, Floyd Rose, what have you. So yeah, real nice guitar. Tracked all the rhythms and my solos on that. Yeah, and amp wise, I'm not sure what we'll use to reamp in the studio, but I'd imagine it'll probably be a 6505 or an
Yeah.
Engel or something along the lines of that.
Yeah. So the guitar that you use then, is it one that you've had for many years? Is it your trusted go-to guitar?
It's actually a relatively, well, not really new anymore, but new to me addition. Swapped out to that one probably last November, I think it was. So,
Yeah.
and that's just been my main ever since. But yeah,
So were you round at a shop and you just tried like the sound of 10 different guitars, and that was the one that struck you the most?
I actually just saw it on Facebook Marketplace,
All right. Okay.
and like I knew I wanted that kind of guitar, and they're discontinued. And it popped up, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna bite the bullet, and just went for it.
Well, it certainly sounds as if it's worked out for you well. So thanks very much for that, Ben. What about yourself, Uther? Go on, tell us your drum kit up, your
Really? You
Got
want
well,
to
an
know
hour.
the whole thing?
well, there is a question I do need to ask you. Why do you have so many Megabuild tides?
Right. 2 words. Well, 3 words, but one separate. Death and Gene Hoglan.
Right.
Right?
Okay. Okay.
The man. The
Absolutely
man. He
is.
knew what he was doing. The 90s, no one else was doing that. 2020, no one else is doing that. All right. Not trying to be, well, I am trying to be Gene Hoglan, but I'm not trying to be Gene Hoglan. But you get the idea. Nah,
Yes.
man, it just brings like a different vibe. Like a lot of these riffs are super tremolo intensive, right? And you add a layer of double bass as well as those double rides. It is the most helicopter shit you've ever heard in your life. It's so cool. And like I got addicted to it when I was
Yeah.
a young lad. I got one Mega Bell ride, and then the old drummer of this band, Rob Kirkland, he was selling his Mega Bell ride, and I was like, well, I'll have it. And then I started making it work, and I threw off my hi-hat from the left. So every drummer now looks at my kit and goes, where are the hi-hats, man? I'm like, yeah, right. So yeah, I play a bit of an alien setup to most people, but I mean, Christ, you want to know the details of the drums or
Well, how many drums do you have? If you've got a couple, that's fine. If you've got 10, then no.
nah, no, 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 no. I mean, I run a pretty classic setup drum wise. Like it's just a snare drum and 3 toms. The kick drums are the weird bit. So they are bass drums to an extent. I am playing them, all right. Don't get it twisted, but
Okay.
they're just pads. So basically, it means the load in the van is lovely because they're literally, instead of having 2 massive bass drums, which I used to play, and I did that on Twisted, those were 2 bass drums. Um, Instead of that, you have the size of a snare drum because they're just kick pads. And for live playing, that is the bollocks because you're not one, you can actually use your gear. You don't have to like sacrifice your
Yeah.
comfortability essentially, because you can just slap together this thing. It's not that big. It's quite
Yeah.
wide, but it's not very deep.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just got used to playing them, and I was just like, wow, I'm sold, man. So we recorded Nebulous on those. And yeah, haters will hate, but I stand by it, man.
What about your snare? Like, did you change your snare sound from Twisted Existence to Nebulous, or like?
Yeah. So the head was the main change. I've always been using the Tama SLP big black steel snare drum. It's a very big, thick snare drum. I would go get it, but I can't be asked. It's a very heavy sound, but like you can tune it high and it will sound deep. You tune it low and it will sound deep. It's a brilliant sounding snare for metal, especially.
Yeah.
So all we did really this time, I think we tuned it up, and it just gave a really nice like crack with the head that Sam bought. It was a Remo Power Stroke or something like that, and it was it basically had this reverse dot on the middle, which made it, if you hit on the dot, it would just explode, and if you hit anywhere else, it would just go boom. So it was just like, it was good practice as well, just to hit that center snare. But yeah, it made the blast beat sound amazing, and it made the halftime sound heavy as shit. So yeah, that's the
Is it
story of
easy
that.
for you to play blasts?
Well, then halftime.
Like, is it easy for you to play blast beats, or was it, because obviously on Unburier there isn't any blast beats up until now, really. But now it sounds as if they're going to be in the main part of a song. So was it easy for you to do? Yeah.
I have been training relentlessly, if I'm being honest. I've been training every single one of my fingers. And shout out to Hannes Grossman, who used to play Necrophagist. The man blast beats are insane. The stick is up here and he's playing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Anyway, he basically said in a video, train all your fingers to play blast beats and you won't have any problems. So I've been doing that. And because a lot of these, well, 2 of the songs in particular are just, 16th City, we call it, blast beat central. And it's without that technique, there's no way I could play it, like, frankly. And this band has pushed me to do that. I mean, the direction that we're going, like I said, it's natural. Like, I'm doing this out of my own fruition as well. It isn't just the band that's making me want to blast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And I may as well just ask the final question about the drums then. What's the weight of your drumsticks then? Is it 5 Bs?
2 Bs.
Ah,
2 Bs.
2
Keep
Bs.
it nylon tip for those little pingies.
Yeah.
And I've tried lighter sticks. People say they make you go faster. I feel like they don't. They're harder to play. And that's me. Maybe it's the size of my hands. I don't know. But that's just what works.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to how much it works when I get to hear the EPS we've discovered. It's called Nebulous. Hopefully it'll be out at the beginning of next year, if not before. Hope you get the bass recorded as soon as, and just get the material out there, because it definitely deserves to be heard. Again, we'll play it on Moshville Radio. When it's ready to be released, we'll certainly have another conversation, and we'll do all we can here at Moshville Times as well to promote you guys. But most of all, I'm looking forward to seeing you next Saturday in Glasgow. So good luck with the rest. Good luck with the rest of the tour. By the time you guys play, I'll probably be at the bar or upside down behind the bar. So I'll try and make sure that I say hello to you first.
We'll call your name,
Cool.
man.
Yeah. But so just keep on going. And like I said, looking forward to seeing what you guys do next. So thanks very much for this interview.
Thanks for your time, man.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks for having us.